everybody, welcome back. It's month 3 and this month we're going to be making trees. We're going to be making this whole block up here and we're going to make this one down here. And I've seen everybody's mittens and scarves and you're all doing great. So we're going to keep up the good work. This month is not hard, but it is going to be an exercise in organization. We're going to be following pages 9 and 10 in our pattern book, and the cutting directions are going to look a little funny. They're going to look a little intense, the cutting directions from us, but that's just because she gives you a long list of A through N pieces on page 10 here, that you have to cut. And what we've done is gone ahead and made this, instead of this long list, we've broken it down for you into cut several strips and then cut your pieces out of those strips. So what you have this month in your kit is you have a strip of black with red and green dots on it, and this is going to be the trunks of your trees. You have this strip, it's 5.5 inches from here to here, and this is going to be, make 4 small trees. You have this strip that's 6.5 inches from here to here, and this is going to make the medium-sized trees. And just like in Goldilocks, this is going to make the large trees, and this is 7.5 inches from here to here, okay? You also have a large piece of background fabric. And this background fabric, what you want to do is you're going to straighten an edge, just like we did in the last video. Lay it down and straighten one edge, and then you're going to cut 4 strips. One is going to be 7.5 inches, one's going to be 5.5, one 3.5, and one 2.5. Okay?
So with the fabric.
Yes, by width of fabric. So you've got your selvage to selvage. It opens up. Okay? You're going to fold it in half to get it to fit under your ruler, and then you're going to cut those strips. The 7.5 inch strip, you will have to use your cutting mat to measure it, okay? And we usually tell you to cut under the ruler. That one you will cut 7.5 inches this way, and you'll have to do it by measuring on your cutting mat, okay? If you're really stuck with that, just come on in and we'll show you how to do it. Bring your fabric when you come. The other thing you need to know is then your directions are going to tell you, and I'm going to add in specific dimensions before you get these, but it's going to tell you from your 7.5 inch strip, cut these pieces, 3.5, cut these pieces. Okay, it goes over onto the back. That's what I'm saying. It looks intimidating. Some of these things will say something like cut a piece that's 1 by 7.5. It might say cut it from your 2.5 inch strip. I'm not sure that's what it says on here. I'm just speculating. In that case, you're going to cut a 7.5 inch strip, and it'll be 7.5 inches wide, like this one. And you need a 1 inch piece, so you'll cut the 1 inch piece off, okay? I know this sounds intimidating. It really truly isn't. I actually found the list in the pattern to be very intimidating. But like I said, we've tried to simplify it a little bit for you, okay? And again, we're here if you have any trouble at all. Okay. After you get all your pieces cut, make sure you label them, because in your pattern, when you put your pieces together, she's done a really great job of showing you, here's your tree, here's piece A, here's piece B. That's sewn together into one block. It's going to show you all the way down, all the way through all the different letters. It's really great that way. And then what you're going to do is this side piece over here, this one gets sewn into one big long piece, okay? You're going to have all 4 trees sewn together. This one down here, she's got a red line in the pattern about it. You're going to sew the top 3 trees together. It's going to stop here. This trunk of your tree will not get sewn on. You're going to keep this block separately, because when we put the whole quilt together, you need to sew this piece to your scarf. We were talking about it before we started the video. Don't actually sew your mittens and your trees and your scarves and all of that together yet. Let's wait until final construction. There's actually a couple of extra white background pieces that get sewn in here and there, and we're going to need to cut those later on when we're sewing it all together, okay? Okay, so that's how the construction of the trees is going to work. I want to show you how to cut the trees. All right, she gives you on page 12, she gives you this template. If you want to, you can copy it on your copier and cut it out so you have a paper template. And you can use this to cut your trees, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But you can also get this ruler. It's a kaleidoscope ruler. It's from Creative Grids. I'm sorry, it's not a kaleidoscope. It's a spider web ruler from Creative Grids. We have them in the shop. Those of you who made the coffee cups or the teacups or the wonky trees, you already have this ruler, okay? I'm going to show you how to cut your trees using the ruler as well as the paper template, okay? If you have this ruler, you probably want to dig it out because I'm not going to lie, it is a little easier with the ruler, with this ruler, okay? So, I'm going to cut 6.5-inch trees. These are the medium-sized trees, okay? And you can see my fabric is wrinkly, so first I'm going to give it a press because we don't want wrinkled fabric doesn't sew well into quilts. Flat fabric sews well into quilts. I learned that when I long-armed a lot of quilts and when my mom told me. So anyway, we're going to cut 6.5-inch trees. So what you do is, if you have the paper template, this line right here says 6.5, okay? And again, this piece is already cut to 6.5 inches for you. If you have the paper template, you're gonna line this up as close to the corner as you can. You wanna leave a little bit sticking out. And this line should be even here and over here with the edge of your fabric. And at the top, this should line up perfectly with the top of your fabric. I'm gonna grab another ruler because if you try to cut this with your rotary cutter, there's nothing for it to lean on and you'll end up cutting your paper template. You want to make sure you're still lined up and you take your regular quilting ruler that you use to cut and you lay it on the side of your template. And I'm sorry, my arm is probably going to get in your way here. And you cut your first side off, and then you make sure this stays lined up, which this is the tricky part. And you're going to lay, see it moved. You're going to lay your ruler on the other side. And you'll cut again. Okay? And you will have your triangle, and when you can check it on the front if you want. But it needs to be 6.5 inches from here to here, and then aligned with the sides of your template. Okay? So that's the way you do that with the template. If you have and you need 2 of these trees. So we just cut one off of this side. Now we're going to cut the other one on the other side. So I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see. Okay, again, this one has the 6.5 inch mark right here. Okay, you're going to look at the little line. And at the top, you'll see it's got, it's a point, but it's got that little black triangle marked on it. So the bottom of that triangle is going to go at the top of your fabric, and your 6.5 inch line goes right along the bottom edge of your fabric. Okay? What you're going to do, if a lot of people want to try to line it up right here and conserve fabric, I'm here to tell you it's okay to waste just a little bit and you'll get a more accurate cut. So 6.5 inch there, my point lined up there. And now I'm going to cut on one side and on the other side. And I've got that. Should have two identical triangles. Okay. All right, so we've got that. And now you're going to take, those are your trees, and now we need the background pieces that I think I left over there. Hold on.
Is this them?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, now we have to cut background pieces to go on the sides of your triangles, okay? Now, the directions for cutting these are actually on page 12. I don't know why, but she put them where your template is on page 12. They're right here, okay? She tells you to stack two rectangles on top of one another. And these are your rectangles that measure 3 3/4 by 6.5. She wants you to take one and lay it face right side up, and take your other one and lay it right side down, so you've got right sides together, and she wants you to cut them both at the same time. We don't generally advise cutting 2 layers of fabric because they can get off, and if you cut, and I just cut a whole bunch wrong, so if you cut one wrong, then you're going to cut both of them wrong. So instead, what I did, the way I cut these was I laid one right side up and one right side down, and now we're going to cut them. We're going to cut them the same way. If you have the template, what you need is this dashed line. So I folded it on the dashed line, and what you're going to do is remember where your 6.5 inch line here is, and you're going to put that along the bottom of your triangle, and now you're not worrying so much about this as you are the edge of this edge of your template. So that's going to go right along the edge of your fabric, and your 6.5 inch line is going to go right along the bottom edge of your fabric. And then you get your ruler, and this part I find tricky, this part where we get it lined up. And you're, okay. If you're going to use the templates, I would get some tape, and I would tape it to the fabric. I would tape it over here, which means you'll have to cut through it, but that would be, I think it would be easier than keeping this all still while you try to put your ruler on top. Okay, so we get that all lined up, and then we're going to cut. And then you're going to turn it, and you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to
Still with the fabric face.
Still with the fabric. This one we're doing right side up, yes. Okay. So you've got two. These guys are actually the same. Okay? Now we're going to use this one that's right side down, and that is very, very, very important. And if you're using this ruler, you're going to use this dashed line, okay? Not the center line. If you use the center line, your piece will be too small. You can ask anybody who was here for By Any Basics how we know that, because they all watched me struggle because I cut it wrong. So we're going to line up the 6.5 inch line here and this dashed line along the edge of your fabric, along your rectangle. Now we just cut and keep them right sides down for right now, but turn it around so you can make the second cut. So again, 6.5 here, dashed line along the edge. And now we have these two, but they are the mirror image. And when we flip them around, look what fits right inside there. Your tree. Okay? So if you're using either one, you're going to do this the same way. You're going to use your 5.5 inch line on this fabric, okay? And you're going to cut 4 of those guys. And the green with the gold flecks on it, look at there's the iron. This one, you're going to use the 7.5 inch line. So this one you'll use the whole template on, okay, to cut your trees out. So that's how the other fabric works. But now we have to get these guys sewn together. So now you're gonna want your regular sewing stuff. We're done with rulers. We're going to, the seam ripper, because you know we're ever optimistic. We've got our folding pen. I've got a friction pen in a nice bright color that I can see. And I grabbed my magic wand because what I'm going to do now is mark some 1/4 inch lines. When you sew angles like this, when we go to sew them together, we're going to take this piece and we're going to sew it on like this. But if you line up the corner to the corner, so it matches up perfect, right? Because they're the same exact size. But if you do that, when you open your piece up, it will actually be, it won't be in the right area. This actually ends up sitting up too high, okay? Your background fabric will be too high. So what we have to do is offset the fabric by 1/4 inch. And some of us can eyeball it, because what you want is 1/4 inch extending up here. But if you can't eyeball it, sorry, extending up here. If you can't eyeball this, then grab your magic wand, and remember that's 1/4 inch from the center of your magic wand to the edge of it, and lay it on the edge of your white piece. And you're going to take your friction pen and you're going to mark a little bitty line here and a little bitty line here. And that's 1/4 inch. And you want that.
So if you don't have a magic wand, you can use 1/4 inch.
Yeah, you could just use the 1/4 inch line on any of your quilting rulers, which is here. Oh, that's hard to see. Okay, so it's halfway between the edge of your ruler and your half inch. Okay, so you can use that too. And what you want is this line that you made to intersect with your green. So you're going to line up your edge here and see how it's just barely, that's where my white and my green come together, right there on that edge. And when you look at the bottom, you get the same thing. This intersection at the 1/4 inch is between the green, there you go, but the 1/4 inch line is touching where your green and your white meet up, okay? So now we're gonna go to the sewing machine. And I'm gonna sew these guys together. And I've got my scant 1/4 inch foot on here. And I'm gonna sew with a stitch length of 1.8, and I've got my dove gray thread in there. And I took a couple of stitches to anchor it, and now I'm gonna make sure that my raw edges are together. Here's the other thing. These are bias edges, which means they're really, really stretchy. You do not want to pull on these at all. You want your feed dogs to pull the fabric through the machine. You don't want there to be any tugging or pushing, okay? Because it's very easy to distort these. So you want to let your machine do all the work for you. And the way you're going to know if you've pulled is when you get to the bottom here, if you had your 1/4 inch lined up perfectly at the top, and you get to the bottom and this guy is pulled, it extends beyond the green, then you know that you pulled. Okay? So when we open it up, here, we've got what we should have. The white and the green are meeting up exactly. Okay? Okay, so now I'm gonna press, and I'm going to press towards my background fabric. So first I'm gonna press open so that I don't get any wrinkles. I'm gonna press open on both sides. And then I'm gonna grab my folding pen and I'm gonna press towards my background fabric, which quilting sayings are, the quilting saying is press towards the dark side, but in this case, pressing towards your background fabric is going to make your overall tree much, much flatter. So I'm gonna make sure, and again here, we don't want to push or pull, we just want to press flat. Because if you pull on this, those bias edges really wanna stretch. Okay, so now again, I'm gonna mark my quarter, whoop, not with the tape there, I'm gonna mark my 1/4 inch in here and at my bottom. And then to line it up, this one's harder, but wherever my fabrics intersect, so wherever this 1/4 inch, wherever my little pink line there, we want that to touch the very edge of the fabric I'm sewing this to. And fear not, a couple of these, when I was making mine, I had to rip them out because when I folded them open, they were uneven, and that's not what we want. Oh, I got all misaligned. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, this one I'm starting down here, so when I put my, I'm gonna fall right into the 1/4 inch line. Okay, so we're gonna sew, and again, raw edges together. These need to be, these trees are the most accurate piecing probably in the whole quilt. There's not a ton of wiggle room. So don't be discouraged if you sew one together and it doesn't look the way it should. Just rip it out and start over. This is a great...
Be careful when you rip, not
Yeah.
to stretch.
Be careful, yeah. Because again, bias edges. Okay. But just take your time with these guys. Okay, so this turned out exactly the way we want it to, and I'll show you how I know that in just a second. But when I bring it open, we want to check that there's white up here covering above the top of our tree, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So now we're going to do our pressing. Press open. And then we're going to press this one to the background as well, which is the white with the green dots. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what it is we're looking for. I tested these by taking my magic wand and laying my center line along the bottom green edge of my fabric, okay? And what you want is when you do that, and I'm going to put some marks on here so you can see, this is where it is. Okay, this is where it, All right, so that should be a 1/4 inch away, because what that means is when we sew this tree in, we're going to sew the bottom edge up a 1/4 inch. So when we sew it again on this side, we want there to be, that's where we want it, so you get perfect points, okay? The other important thing is at the top. We want there to be, when we lay the 1/4 inch on the edge here, we want it to come down and it's intersecting exactly with the point. And that's what we want, because if it comes down here, if we sew over there, you're gonna cut the point of your tree off, okay? So that's what we're looking for, is a little bit of white here and a little bit of white on the sides at the bottom. Okay, so you're gonna repeat this same process. You're gonna make 2 6.5 inch trees, 2 7.5 inch trees, and 4 5.5 inch trees. Once you have those guys done, then you're gonna take all your extra background pieces and you're just gonna sew together in blocks, just like in the diagram, okay? And again, that diagram is on page 10.
So they wanted to label their blocks as they cut them.
Yes, label your blocks here as you cut them. It does say that in the written directions. I'm not just trying to make you waste paper and drive you crazy. So, when you're done, again, you should have one set that is 3 trees. The last tree doesn't have a trunk yet, and then this block separately, and then this strip of trees up here. Okay? So, again, this month is a month to take your time. It's not a race. Quilting is never a race. And these trees are a lot of fun. They're really fun when you sew them and they come out perfect. But you will be better off if you just take a little bit of time and make sure you get them done right, okay? So when you're done, send us pictures, bring them in. If you have trouble, come in and see us. Bring your fabric when you come so we can help you. But otherwise, don't forget to be sending us pictures of your finished blocks or bringing them in for us to see them, because we put your name in the prize bucket and someone at the end of the block of the month will win free long arming for their snowman quilt. All right? Let us know if you have any trouble. Otherwise, happy sewing.